Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro friends. Today we're going to be talking about what you can actually do today to help coffee producers pretty much right away. And there are a number of things that you can do that will help coffee producers that you can start working on today. And this is important for a bunch of reasons. People are concerned at the moment that they won't really be able to shift the needle. I keep getting asked, is anything we actually do going to help coffee farmers immediately? And we're not playing a short game here. We are definitely playing a long game, and we want everyone to be aware of that. But there are a number of things that you can do right now that are going to shift things immediately. And I spoke about a couple of them on Instagram today. So let's talk in depth about some of these things. Today, right now, the most important thing that you can do to help a coffee farmer is to find out who they are, get their details. And by details, I mean find out their name, find out a photo of who they are, get a little bit of a history about who they are, take that information and put it in front of your customers. And when you do that, use the hashtag thisisyourcoffeefarmer, because by bringing awareness to people who are drinking coffee, that this is what coffee is and what it looks like, and these are the hands that made it, it helps them understand that it's an agricultural product. There are an astonishing number of people out there that don't know that coffee is actually an agricultural product. It's a complex agricultural product, but an agricultural product nonetheless, and we want to help them get there. So take the face of the farmer, print it up onto a small card. We use the postcard size cards for Elixir. We put them in the packs that we send out, and it's the first thing they see when they open the boxes. Any of the 3, 10 or 24 packs, they open them up and they immediately see that the card with the face of the farmer on it, it says, "This is your coffee farmer" on one side with the photo. Then on the other side, it gives them details about the elixir, and it gives them details about the farmer as well, which is really important, because once they understand who the farmer is, they understand why we have a relationship with them. This then goes on to make them more invested in the success of what you're doing and what the farmer's doing. They understand that there's a social contract that is being exchanged without anybody really having to write it out. But there is a social contract that's being exchanged when you all can see each other's faces. So this is really, really important. Now, on that, it's not necessarily something that's just for the owners of businesses to do. This is a really wonderful project for employees of roasteries and cafes to dig into. So what I would suggest is, if you're an employee of a cafe or an employee of a roastery, I would encourage you to get involved by contacting either the green buyer or the importer and finding out some details. Ask them for photos of the farmers if they have them. If they don't have them, find out how you can go about getting those details, and make sure that it's okay with the owner of your business for you to gather this information. You don't have to necessarily go to the trouble of finding out how much the farmer was paid, but try. And if you do attain that information, we're going to talk about that in a second. But if the owner of your business isn't comfortable with you putting that information out there, at least you've gathered the information and have some more transparency internally within the team. But for the moment, to get immediate action on what has been going on, what I would say is the very quickest way you can affect change for the farmer right now is to get their face in front of the person who's drinking their coffee. And this not only will have immediate results for the mindset of the person that's drinking the coffee, it will start to shift their long-term buying practices and adjust their buying philosophy around coffee. This is what starts a cultural change, the kind of cultural change that we need to affect this supply chain in the direction that we need it to be affected in. Another way is to, if you are a business owner, is to explore the idea of relationship buying. Now, if you're new to this podcast or you're new to our social platforms for Map It Forward, you may not have heard this term before, but relationship buying is where you establish a relationship directly with the coffee farmer and purchase coffee from them either directly or through an importer. But the idea is that you're well aware of what the farmer is getting paid. You've negotiated that price with them. You've negotiated the terms of the contract with them. And you are ensuring that they're getting paid a better than fair price for their coffee. Relationship buying is typically done with specialty grade coffee. And this is a really great way for you to have more control over the exact crops that you're buying. So relationship buying done at its core is where you go to origin and you visit the farmer, you cup the crops there with them, and you make decisions on the farm, and you have a really great investment then in the story that then goes down the coffee supply chain. If there's one thing that I've noticed in the campaigns that we've done with hashtag thisisyourcoffeefarmer, the more of a story that we can tell about the coffee farmer, the more sales we were able to make. And we definitely have made more sales in the 2 lots of coffee that we've used for Elixir Specialty Coffee for This Is Your Coffee Farmer. So if you go the extra mile and you go and purchase directly from the farmer, which we did for the first one, and we for our second round, Elliot Renecki, the roaster from Steady State, purchased directly from Rodrigo Sanchez, and I then met Rodrigo here in San Diego. Again, that all is an extension of relationship buying. It is a personal relationship that you're establishing, a personal business relationship you're establishing and nurturing with the person who's growing your coffee. Okay, so the reason these kinds of things are important to do now is because it means that the farmers are starting to feel that there is some support there, that this horrible crisis that they've been experiencing for a long time now, they can finally start to feel some support around. When we from the front end of the supply chain are reaching out and saying, hey, I see you, and I know that this is important, and I want to be a part of the solution, which is an extension of the next thing that I want to say, which is thank the farmers who grow the coffee that you're using in your businesses. Do this through social media. Celebrate them through social media. So when you have their photos and you put them up on your social platforms, make sure that you tag them in Instagram. Introduce your employees to who they are on Instagram and have your employees reach out and give these farmers feedback. Make sure that if you're not relationship buying, let's say that you have purchased the coffee from an importer and you're using that importer's ability to purchase green coffee and trusting them, it doesn't mean you can't reach out to the farmer and say, hey, my name is Lee and I work for Elixir Specialty Coffee, and we purchased this really delicious coffee that you grew, and I just wanted to thank you for how it's tasting because it's amazing. Those kinds of things, the farmers, look, they need to get paid, and they need to get paid above the cost of doing business, not just the cost of production, the cost of doing business. And yes, we're working towards that. But it's also important for us to express our gratitude for what these people are doing for us. We don't have an industry without them. And gratitude is a life currency that just goes so far. Connection. connectedness is such an important life currency. So please find who these farmers are on Instagram, and they pretty much all have Instagram now. Find them and reach out. Don't let language be a barrier. I use Google Translate to connect with the farmers that I'm connected with, and sure, I'm pretty much 100% confident that I fuck it up a lot of the time, but they generally get the gist of what I'm trying to say, and they're very, very grateful. They're very grateful for the fact that we're getting what they're doing in front of the public. It's not only thank you, but it's I appreciate what you're doing. And that just feels amazing. We all need to feel that. The next thing that we can do is we can stop buying coffee that we suspect the farmer hasn't been paid fairly for. Now, you may think that it's difficult to get the price that the farmer is being paid, and oftentimes it is, especially in situations where farmers are taking their coffees to a co-op, like in a lot of places in Ethiopia. And that's fair. But if you're aware that the farmers are getting paid a really shitty price, perhaps find a way to purchase from farmers who aren't getting paid a shitty price. I don't know the exact solution to how we stop paying farmers a shit price for coffee. We're still going on that journey, and it's not as simple. You might think it's as simple as let's just pay them more. It's not. The issue isn't always how much we're paying for the coffee. The issue is often how do we make sure that the price that I'm paying for this green coffee landed here in the United States is trickling down the line to the farm gate price. And so that's the price that the farmer's getting paid for it. Remember that from the time that the farmer lets go of it to the time it ends up on the ship could be earlier and earlier and earlier in the supply chain. And so if there's anything that you should have learnt from this podcast so far, it's that the complexity of the coffee supply chain is far deeper than we have, I'd like to say, been led to believe, but it's not that we've been led to believe anything. We've just been too lazy to understand it if we're not buying green coffee. And so that's why this podcast, a major reason this podcast is existing right now, and the focus right now is we're trying to understand what the coffee supply chain looks like and how that is correlated to the sea market and relationship buying. And then the last thing that I want to talk about how we can help farmers right now is before you publish a version of transparency, and it's very noble for everybody who's going out there and saying, oh, look, I'm publishing my farm gate prices, and I'm publishing my FOB prices and my landed prices, and that's great. But please, before you do that, make sure that you have permission from the farmer to do that. This was something that was pointed out to me by Janina, who is Barista Yan on Instagram. She works for Honor Coffee, and they went through the process of making sure that farmers were happy with them publishing this information before they published it. You don't know whose business you're affecting by going out there and publishing the price that you've paid them for the coffee. So just ask permission from farmers first, because you don't know if they've given you a special deal and they're looking to sell it to somebody else for a different price. So it's really important that if you are going to do that, and it's commendable having a transparency report, but again, we don't want to do anybody any harm. So a transparency report needs to be laden with permission from the people whose information you're going to be disseminating. On that point, I hope that that's given you enough to start with in order to start affecting the lives of the farmers immediately. It's in our hands. It's on them to grow great coffee. It's on us to make sure that we're paying the right price for it, making sure that we can find a way to get them as much coffee. But more importantly, it's up to us to make sure that we are shifting the culture with regards to coffee drinkers so that they understand what the impact of the way that they buy coffee is going to have down the line in the coffee supply chain. On that note, make sure that you join us tomorrow for, well, if you're listening to this, it's today. But on Tuesday, June 4th, Carly Garner from Dakali Trading. Carly is a futures commodity trader. I think I'm saying that in the right order. And she's going to be talking to me tomorrow on the podcast, and I'm going to be learning all about futures trading and commodities trading. My head's going to hurt for about 5 days afterwards. But as my friend Christopher Ferran said to me today, you know you're doing it right when you've got people who are much smarter than you that are teaching you. So I hope this is going to go well. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.